Okay, here we go. Time to start penciling. Well, I've already started it. I'm penciling a page of the Captain SRSLY comic in Clip Studio Paint. Time to start the live stream. Not time to start the drawing. I mean, time to continue the drawing. Oh, just stop. I hope everybody's had a good holiday break and is if you were able to have a holiday break. And if you were able to have one, I hope it was restful, and I hope that you're excited and ready for the new year. I did take a little bit of a break, and I'm excited to get back to drawing. It's one of those occupations that you get up in the morning, you're just like any job. Like there are days where you're like, oh, I don't feel like it today, but for the most part, I generally speaking, like am pretty enthusiastic about getting in and doing this stuff. Oh, come on, Jersey. Gotta fix that. Yep, there, like that. So not to belabor this with like a whole lot of talk about like what my intentions are, but I'll explain my intentions. I hope to do this on a regular basis. I started my year by doing an inventory of what I have to do, what I've committed to doing for this year, at least for the first third of it, and figured out where I can schedule all of my various tasks. And one of the things I wanted to commit to this year was doing regular live streaming when I'm working. And the only place that it fell on my schedule that made any sense for now is 10 a.m. Mondays and Thursdays. I don't know how many people are getting up at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to watch live streams. We'll find out. This plan may change as it meets the road. I'm still trying to figure out like how to play music on these live streams without getting the content ID flags on videos. I have a what is it called? It's hard for me to talk. I'm still kind of not like in full like presentation mode. Um, I have some royalty free playlists in some different audio apps, but even then, you know what I need to do? I know what I need to do. I have a Filmstro account, and you can make background music that has been cleared for use on YouTube. I need to make some tracks with that, some like long tracks. Filmstro is this service that I used to make the music tracks for the Super Comics Challenge videos I did earlier. I was going to say earlier this year, in 2020, last year. And it's kind of a neat, kind of intuitive way to build soundtracks for your videos. But I used it to create some YouTube cleared short music tracks for the different art challenges. If you don't know what I'm talking about with Super Comics Challenge, it's right on my YouTube channel. It was a drawing game show featuring professional cartoonists and kid cartoonists, where there's these drawing games, and the goal of it is the games are supposed to also like sort of reveal how comics work, or how cartooning works, I should say. Oh, I know what I was doing here. Okay. Goodness gracious, Jersey. That's her cyber gauntlet thing. Forgot to put in some of the details on it. One character down. So hopefully by Thursday, when I do my next one of these, I'll have some background music. I don't know how important that is. I mean, I know that a lot of people use it, so I assume that it's important for a presentation. But I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about like, well, why would I want to do it? Why do I think it's important? Is silence so bad? What's happening in this scene is the heroes have all had their feelings stolen by this scientific, in quotes, comic book scientific device. And in this part of the story, Dame Lady Cat turns to the reader and asks them to break out some crayons. This is a comic for first graders. Break out some crayons and start filling in the characters' feelings by coloring them in. Color them so they look brave. Color them so they look angry, etc. So this scene will be printed in black and white. And when I'm done penciling this, I'm going to print it onto some hammer mill. What is it called? It's like a cardstock. It's a very smooth cardstock. I'm going to print it out on that, and I will ink it with brush pens. So actually, I might even do the inking as part of my Thursday live stream. What's going on there? That's not anything. Oh my gosh. Get the line right, Jersey. Poor Dame Lady Cat. There we go. There's panel 1. There's our heroes all drained of their essence. Essence of Gelfling and all that. All right, let's save. Save and then quick sip of coffee before we dive into panel 2. I might finish this one really early. How long have I been going? Like 15 minutes? Oh my goodness. Dame Lady Cat starts to shake it off. She's like, "Wait a second, this we can't go on like this. The villains are taking over our headquarters." It was established earlier in the story that Dame Lady Cat is good at controlling her feelings. And so it made sense that if they were taken away, she'd be the one who could bring them back. Plus, I just like the character, so I want to do a story where if somebody's going to talk to the reader, talk to the little kids reading the book, I want it to be her. This is my first time writing for this age group. And there were some changes that I made to the art and the writing that it surprised me how much I had to think about. So I remember when I did the second grade book, and this is ages ago now, this character, the wrestler, Mr. Turnbuckle, I wanted him to speak with a southern accent. The kind of the like what you saw in like Marvel Comics with the X-Men and Rogue and everything. Hey, sugar, that kind of thing. And so I wrote in this very, like instead of referring to himself as I, he referred to himself as AH, And I was advised by the educators I was working with that second graders might have trouble with that. Some second graders might have trouble with that. So we recommend that you just write, proper grammar for all the characters. And I remember thinking oh, that's a shame, but okay, let's see what I can do with that. Can I get the character's voice while also writing in a way that is appropriate for that age group, what their comprehension levels are at, where their comprehension levels are at. So, and in this, I started thinking along the same lines as okay, well, what cartooning conventions might be their level of fluency isn't there yet, right? I'm not dumbing it down, right? I'm thinking about clarity in a new way. I get really antsy, a little bit. I guess I can get a little bit overbearing when people start talking about dumbing things down for kids. I don't like that term. I don't like the assumption that children are stupid. It's like saying somebody's dumb because they haven't done something before. Anyway, so I thought about this moment when Dame Lady Cat is sort of shaking her head and like snapping out of it, right? And originally I thought I was going to do the multiple face shaking of one's head, where you see like a couple different pairs of eyes as the blur effect happens. I thought, that's going to be visually very messy, and or it has the potential to be very messy. So for the sake of clarity, to make sure that there's little chance that anybody can misunderstand it, let's just do the wiggle lines around the head, and we'll do a little bit of what did Mort Walker call these? Would these be pliffs? These little sweat beads. So the idea is there that she's shaking her head, but it's I tried to remove instead of doing this kind of thing with also showing her nose here, and then putting the blur lines there. I've done that a lot in my work. I thought, no, for the sake of absolute clarity, let's not do that. So that little things like that have been surprising to me as I work on this. Thinking about my audience and how do I make this thing as good of a product for them as possible. Is product a bad word? Well, okay, let me put it this way. I want the reading experience to be as positive for them as possible. This is an instance where I'm specifically not trying to challenge them. At least the challenges that I'm putting in the book are challenges that I feel like they're ready for. I hope they're ready for. But I don't want to make a difficult reading experience for the sake of making a difficult reading experience, if that makes any sense. I think that's actually a valid thing to do. That left eye looks weird to me. Let's flip the canvas and see if that still looks weird. How do I flip my canvas? Here we go. Yeah, it does look a little weird. Let's see if I can fix that. I think the pupil needs to move too. And look at that. I had it moved in the original rough. That's funny. It looks a little weird. Got the black inner hair here. Okay. Let's flip the canvas back. And save before we go into our final panel. I did not expect this one to take such little time. Maybe I'll get a little bit of work done on another page before the stream is out. Well, thank you, NY to NM Rican. So try to keep kind of tight with the layering of the fur on Dame Lady Cat, because she's supposed to be a very kind of prim and proper cat. And if you make, so I want her to look furry, but if you make the fur bristles too wild, she looks shaggy. So you got to make it look furry, but not shaggy. I know some people get a little, some people have feelings about breaking the fourth wall in storytelling. I personally, like, most of the time, I find it really charming. Um, but also for this story, this idea of Dame Lady Cat addressing the reader and asking them to color the story was partially inspired by when I was watching, I was visiting a friend and I was watching his 7-year-old, it was like a 6-year-old, I think he was 6, his 6-year-old son watching a show made for little kids. It was I think it was a Disney show, and it's like featuring like children pirates. I forget the name of it. But one of the main characters literally turns to the audience and says like, "Oh, we're going to need a lot of help on this adventure. Will you help us?" And I watched this little 6-year-old, fully invested in the story, look at the screen and very earnestly go, "Uh-huh." You know, you think about like Mr. Rogers and things like that. Like that's sort of kids media uses that. And so I wanted to use that. I thought it was appropriate. I thought it was probably matching a lot of the experiences that the kids are having. All right, so there is. Oh, one more thing I got to do before I print this out. I got to move my panel borders down here into pencil layer. So the panel borders become blue as well. And I'm going to mask out the panel border around the final panel. I want it just to be a floating thing. Race right up to the edges of Dame Lady Cat. And we'll just use the selection tool for the rest. Oops. And delete. You can still see the pink line there indicating there's a panel border there, but the panel line itself is vanishing, and it won't print when I print this out. And delete. So when I click off of it, I hope you still see the pink panel lines. There we go. Save. Let's turn on my lettering file. My lettering board. Aha! There was a mistake, Jersey. I'm glad I did this. So I accidentally masked out. Come on, let me paint that back in. Really? You're not gonna let me paint on this? What's going on? Let me work on the. Interesting. How did that happen? Oh, I know what I did. I'm in the wrong place. Okay. This is where I want to go. And I want to fill that. And then I want to fill that there. I deleted too much of with the mask. There we go. Now we can save. And I guess since I have a little bit of extra time, I can go ahead and start working on another page. So I started working on page 9 this morning too. So right now I've got the thumbnails in there, lettering is done, so now I'm just going to start roughing this stuff in. So if you feel like hanging out with me while I'm doing some rough penciling, you can see this is where I start with. I start with the thumbnail. This thumbnail was drawn in pencil, with graphite pencil on just like some loose sheets of paper. And when I'm thumbnailing, I'm really not focusing on drawing well. I'm just getting like the moments. Big panel, small panel, close, far away. I'm thinking about that stuff, dialogue, and then like the general body language and pose and composition, but I'm not wasting any of my time on trying to draw accurately or well. That comes in this part. This part I'm going to start correcting my work. I'm going to use my loose sketch as a starting point. And a lot of times my loose sketches are pretty close to what I want. And often once I've got like the structure figured out, I'll hide the thumbnails just for a minute so I can get this part without being distracted by what's underneath. Why that preview started playing again? Okay. Oops. I think that eye needs to move over just a touch. And transform just a little bit. There we go. And so the name of the game here is to play it sloppy. As I say to my comics class students, I'm throwing out all the wrong lines to find the right lines. Yes, indeed. Live cat action. Drawing Dame Lady Cats live on the YouTubes. Good to see you, Jamie and Kimberly. Why is the glove used for digital paint? The glove used for digital painting so adorable. It does have kind of like a Victorian, like Dickensian look to it, doesn't it? Looks like I should be like cool, warming my hands as I'm doing work for that old miser. Another reason I get my thumbnails out of the way once I've got the rough structure in place is because now I can get a better sense of whether or not I was too slavishly, copying my thumbnails, and I can make adjustments as needed. Then once I've got it this far, that's rough pencils right there. Now, I'm going to do something dangerous. Oh no. This is the thing they tell you not to do. I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste that Dame Lady Cat because, whoops. Copy and paste. Oh, I did the whole thing. Come on, where's my lasso tool? All right, copy, paste. Did I paste it? I did not. How about I just use the feature in Clip Studio where it gives you all those little options underneath when you make a selection. And I'm going to flip this because Dame Lady Cat's going to be doing this in all 4 panels. And what I'll do is I can, okay. And when I pencil them, I'm actually going to like when I do my final pencil, I'm going to pencil over top. So that they will have some, I don't mind copy and paste, but except for like how replicated it can look, right? I think the reason people get annoyed by it is not because it makes things easier or that it's a cheat, but that it makes the art look less drawn and more manufactured. So a way around that is that when I go to do like the final pencils over this, I'm going to pencil over top of that so that the lines will be different. The drawings will have a different vibrancy to them, that it won't look so manufactured or look more alive. And when I print this out on paper, I'm going to ink each of these individually. So I feel like copying, pasting roughs to build on top of it's a way to expedite the art. But I do agree that it has there's a danger. Whoops, let me just paste again. There's a danger in it in that. Actually, I don't think I want to do that one. I want to change your pose. I got an idea. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the kind of thinking I do when I'm doing my. So I'll copy it there, but I'm going to draw a different version of Dame Lady Cat in panel 2, copy it to panel 3. So her pose will change slightly between all 4 panels. And then, as I said earlier about the different lines. Okay, so Dame Lady Cat goes here. Let's have her looking more directly at the reader. And this time we get to see her little beans. Okay, and now Captain SRSLY's pose. I agree with both of you, NY to M, Emrican, and Kimberly. I'm just more or less trying to model my thinking while I'm going along. And one thing that I like to do is challenge my own assumptions. If I feel strongly about something, then it's time to ask myself, why do I feel strongly about that? Not to talk myself out of it, but just to make sure that I've thought it through and I'm not just saying something because it sounds good. So like if it's the whole, like, again, like copying pasting is a perfect example of this. Is like, okay, well, I know I don't like it when I see it. What don't I like about it? Well, I'm certainly not going to begrudge any artist for finding a more expedient way to make their art, because this stuff takes a long time to make. and the money isn't so great that you can justify spending 19, 20 hours per drawing. If the money was better, then sure. But so when it comes to, work for hire stuff, I try to get it done as quickly as I can without sacrificing too much quality. This is a topic I've been kind of going on a lot about over the last couple of years, is this whole quest to find more efficiency, not for the sake of being lazy, but for the sake of getting more work done. Oh, yeah. I suppose there's these kind of rules in all arts, isn't there? And I get it. I mean, like, this stuff is hard to teach. Yeah, Jamie, and even the word efficiency, I feel like, is a potentially misleading or dangerous word, because I don't want anybody to misunderstand that like I'm equating this with making widgets. I mean, there's expression in this. This is still art, but at the same time, art costs time, and time's the non-renewable resource. So I'm trying to think about that. I'm trying to think about how to do this in a way that is still pleasurable, still fun to do, still a challenge. I'm still growing as an artist with each project, but I'm not, and I still get like time for flow state and so on, but I'm not doing it in a way that like is, there's other costs, right? That's true, Kimberly. Yes. I mean, like, if art is art, right? So you can't, the fact that a person made it is going to show in some way or another. Like, this is the whole idea of like what, when young artists are like, well, I got to find my style. I'm like, well, Neil Adams said your style is what you do wrong, right? And that's like the idiosyncrasy you bring to it, the personality you bring to it, right? I was just more or less with the idea of like talking about widgets, as I was pointing out how languages can often be a trap. And we get like too hung up on, like, if I start talking about efficiencies, they're like, oh wow, so what? You're like trying to turn like your art into like some kind of like a product that's produced like a machine, like, again, like widgets. I'm like, well, no, of course not. Efficiency doesn't have to mean ruthlessly beholden to um, producing X amount of things in X amount of time, but it's just thinking about the time we spend doing the stuff we're doing, and how do we make it a little bit more manageable. I'll just leave that. I don't need to fill it in. Yeah, I mean, like, when it comes to Kimbler's point about like, the art style over time and finding your niche, that's like one of those things that's like, I think, is largely invisible to us when we first start out, because, well, it has to be, because we don't have the experience yet. We don't have the context. We haven't been doing this long enough to understand the long game, right? You can intuit it, you can have it described to you by, caring instructors, but it doesn't make sense until you get through it. One of the really hard parts of the journey, I think. Oh, damn, lady cat, you look so cute right now, but your face is not in proportion. Fix that right now. There we go. But I don't give myself a hard time about that as far as like my development as an artist. I feel like that's a perfectly natural thing, is to feel that sense of urgency. Now, see what you're talking about there, Kimberly, with this idea of like, okay, so yeah, you struggled for your art style, then 10 paintings later, you noticed you loved incorporating abstraction into the paintings and the use of the color teal. Well, and that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about in terms of like, you don't get that context until you actually do it. And then, fortunately, in your case, you took the time to actually reflect and notice and observe. I think that's another thing that's like something that only comes with time and practice, is actually doing that kind of like reflective observation of your art. It's something you can't do when you don't have any experience doing it. And I think that's what some artists are pointing to when they say like, "Well, just get in there and draw." It's like, yeah, get in there and draw, and then I would also add parenthetically at the end, and observe and reflect, and have a conversation with yourself about what you're trying to accomplish and whether or not you did it. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Dame Lady Cat. I'm going to quickly. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. While I'm doing this, this is it's kind of like being in a studio. Copy, paste. Did I paste? Let's see if I pasted. Oh, I pasted all right, but I pasted an old one. All right, let's do it this way. Copy, paste. I don't want to paste that one. I want to paste this one. Am I on the wrong layer? Oh. And merge my rough layers. So now I can copy, paste, and there we go. And then flip it. Get roughly the same size. Let's also rotate her just a tiny bit. There we go. And merge it down. Turn back on my thumbnails. Save and proceed. It is funny how to discover the proclivities we have that like are subconsciously coming through. I feel like that's another thing that like I have only recently really begun to appreciate, is like the role of like how like letting the back of our brain do the work it needs to do. For a long time, I was very much a proponent of the idea like, well, there's no problem that can't be out thought. I really think thinking is cool, because I suddenly got kind of good at it. And so, of course, it becomes the solution to every problem, right? But now part of the process that I really enjoy is when I realize that, okay, this is something where I got to let the back of my brain do its job. And so I'm going to put down the pencil, stop struggling with this, go for a walk, go for a run, go do something physical, go wash the dishes, do something with my body that will take my mind off of this and see what happens. And then reflect on what happened until you notice the patterns that, okay, well, this seems to be something I'm doing. This seems to be what I'm after here. Like the same part of your brain that's working when you're dreaming. Okay, now get rid of the thumbnails so I can get back to refining my structure. I'm curious what other um, proclivities or what would you call it? Like not habits, but like things in your art that you're attracted to that you only discovered through like reflection and observation after the fact, through the act of doing it over and over again. Like what other kinds of things did you discover about like, okay, this seems to be something that motivates my work, something I'm interested in exploring all the time. This is something I enjoy uh either philosophically or creatively, like procedurally. Like for instance, Kimberly's um, affinity for using teal and mixing to get the perfect turquoise. Oh, propensity. There'd be a good word for it too. Yeah. Like, what are your propensities as an artist? Like, what did you discover through the act of just doing it? I'm in the process right now on my Instagram of reflecting on my past decade of artistic development. And I mean, it's a very limited sort of reflection in that I'm just sharing the work that I made as the story that I'm telling about the journey that I went on. And that's like missing out on a whole mess of context in terms of the relationships I was building, the what was happening in my personal life, all the different things that feed into the art. I'm just using the art as the window, saying like these are the things that happened, and these are the patterns that I think were going on. This is the growth that I think was happening. Um, and it's been an interesting, what do I call it? It's been an interesting practice to like revisit my. The way I'm doing is I'm just looking through, my digital photo albums and looking at my past emergent task planners, the time tracking tool that I've been using for the past 9 years now. Um, but it's been interesting to see that where moments in the past decade where I really felt like I had no focus, but like the focus was starting to reveal itself through the act of doing the thing. And like within 3 years, suddenly I saw where there was focus where there was none before. Um, so I think that that's like another reason I dig this kind of reflection is it recontextualizes your art and your artistic growth. All right, I think I have time for one more panel, and then I'm going to have to wrap this one up today. Okay, and then I just hide the roughs or the thumbs. Hello, Angel. I don't have any thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984 yet because I haven't seen it. Seems like people have a lot of mixed reactions about it. I mean, as far as movies go, I spent my break watching things like monster movies. I mean, holiday movies, and then uh, what was the one I watched? Attack of the Monsters, which is a Gamera film, where two little boys go into outer space and find a planet that is on the opposite side of the sun. And they meet these aliens who look like Earth women who want to eat their brains, and they have a giant monster that they keep underground. And of course, Gamera comes to save them and has to fight the giant monster. That was what I watched. Do we have a lockdown in our area? We have recommendations to do no unnecessary moving about, and we have mask use mandates here in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, Attack of the Monsters is super silly fun. One of my favorite activities is sitting on the couch, drawing on my Vio Z canvas, and watching monster movies. Like kaiju monster movies or B monster movies like The Colossus of New York, Day of the Triffids. I think yeah, I love B movies, especially when they feel like like Ed Wood movies, like where it's like okay, these are like not high art, but you can tell that somebody really cared. Somebody was trying to do something here. And also, the thing about B movies for me is like a lot of times like there's no idea off the table. Yep, we're going there. We're doing something this weird, that kind of thing. I find that really inspiring. So I like I love MST3K, but I have mixed feelings on it because like on the one hand, it's like they're kind of highlighting and celebrating movies that I really love, but on the other hand, it's like they're also kind of making fun of it. And while it's funny, like they're being very funny when they do it, but at the same time, it's like well, you're kind of laughing at it too. So I have like this weird happy cognitive dissonance when I'm watching MST3K, Mystery Science Theater 3000. All right. I think I've got the first 4 panels roughed on this. You have to keep watching because you don't know where the silliness will end. That is exactly right. Yeah. Like in the case of Attack of the Monsters, that is very much the silliness just keeps getting more and more and more silly until the end. There's like Gamera literally picks up the kid's spaceship, which got damaged in the battle with the giant monsters, and he just goes push the two pieces together, goes click, and the kid's like, he fixed our ship, and then they go home. It's absurd. Again, going back to this idea of like dreams, like it feels like how dreams feel when I'm watching those kinds of movies. All right, I got a motor, but thank you everybody for hanging out with me today. I'm going to do this again on Thursday at 10 a.m. So if you feel like hanging out with me when I'm drawing, Then I think I might try doing some inking on paper. So it might be an analog session. We'll see. You know where to find me, and all the information is like right below me right there. And you're watching the video now, so you know where to watch it. So thanks again, and I'll see you all next time. As I always say, Jersey Droz, jdroz.com, Jersey Droz on Instagram. Okay, bye.